Hit me.
From Studio A in Arcata, behind the redwood curtain, it's time for...
Succotash.
Yes, Succotash, the comedy soundcast featuring snippets from comedy.
Soundcast.
And also interviews with comedian soundcasters, and other showbiz folk. And now, here's this episode's host from up the coast, the man who puts the X in Xbox and the tie on antisocial, comedy soundcaster, Tyson Saner.
Saluton, estes me, Tyson Saner, your every other weekly host for this first episode of Succotash, produced in this still fairly new year of 2022. It's episode 288, and in case you missed last week's episode 287, hosted by show creator Mark Hershon, you might be interested to know that it featured clips from the soundcast known as Legal Geeks, Whiz World Live, Muriel's Murders, and Dear Earth, I'm Really Sorry. If you were interested, and in fact still are interested in that episode, you can find it at all of Soundcasting's major distribution points, namely Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Amazon Music, SoundCloud, Audible, YouTube, and of course our very own home site, succotashshow.com. But this is a different show, and I've got different content for you. I've got a trio of clips from the Soundcasts Resting Bitch with Ali Macofsky, Hollywood Handbook, and Dead Eyes. I may or may not be including an advertisement from our fictional but extremely well represented throughout what will be 11 years this April sponsor, Henderson's Pants. Real potential sponsors take note. We are, as far as I know, still on the lookout for an actual paying sponsor who likes what we do here at Succotash enough to invest in us. Anyway, happy 2022 to you. Let's get to the clips. First up, Resting Bitch with Ali Macofsky, from Ali Macofsky. Its description says, a podcast from comedian Ali Macofsky. Resting Bitch is a weekly diary with Ali catching you up on what happened this week. So the clip I've chosen is from an episode from December 29th, 2021, called Cursed Christmas, and apparently it is episode 130, in which Ali talks about the holiday season, how to flip a negative into a positive, says the word bitch a lot, and why everyone's shitting this time of year. This clip is from very early in the episode, where host Ali gives us updates about how her life has been going to help set the mood for the episode. I guess we'll get into it. 2021 is about to be over. What are the highlights of 2021? Are there any? I got a boyfriend. That was 2020. Yeah. Yeah. I bought a boyfriend in 2020. He's lightly used. Good condition, 6'4". 2021, I'm trying to think. I don't remember. Well, I guess a lot of cool stuff has happened. Nothing I can think of, though. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like when cool things happen, I compartmentalize everything. Like, it just goes to a certain part of my brain, and I don't, I don't have one of those brains that's like, these are all the top 10. I don't have like a Watch Mojo brain where I'm like, top 10 coolest things of Allie's year. Let's get into it. I should have maybe written down a list of some highlights. Maybe some lowlights too. That would have been fun. But, yeah, I moved into my new apartment. That was pretty cool. I fostered this doggy who's so handsome. Yeah, anyway, I'll get into it. Today's going to probably be a short episode. I feel like it's one of those end of the year, things are slowing down. I've been a sleepy gal. My boyfriend had COVID. I somehow didn't. I got that dirty blood, that dirty road comic blood. I didn't get it. Or at least I just didn't test positive. I took a test like 5 times and got nothing. Nothing came back negative across the board. I'm strong. I'm strong and mighty. But yeah, my parents, they still wanted us over, even though my boyfriend had COVID. They were like, we don't give a F, wear a mask, stay away, but be there. So we did that, and so far everyone's good. No COVID symptoms so far. But I know that this year got, a lot of people
A lot of weird things going on. Yeah. I have a Patreon exclusive on this episode. I got a lot of dirty secrets that I'll air out on Patreon. So if you're interested in hearing my secrets, you can go to patreon.com/Ali Macofsky. And if you become a member, you can get all the gossip, all the drama, all the tea. And if you're not, well then enjoy this public free episode. Okay, so I asked a question because I think this will just help get into the topics. I asked on my Instagram if anyone had any highlights, any good or bad Christmas stories. And so I'll read through those. So my buddy Brian, he's on the Patreon. Brian frickin' rocks. He's an OG Patreon head. Brian was telling me that his grandma blacked out on Christmas. Blacked out. His grandma blacked out, passed out in the car. I got to go to the DMs to read the full story. So he said his grandma got drunk and passed out in the car on Christmas Day. So obviously I was like, how old is your grandma? Because I'm just trying to picture like a gray-haired lady, just frail, just lit out of her mind. He didn't say how old she was. What a true bummer. Oh, she's 80. His grandma's 80 and has purely gray hair. She's iconic in the family. Yeah. That's also the thing about the holidays. It brings out truly the worst in people. It's a stressful time. And here's the thing that I realized, I think a while ago, but also this year, is like, sure, Christmas is special and, we make it this big holiday and whatever, yada yada. But I also think it creates so much stress and, brings out this weird emotional response to it that it's like, if you don't want to do Christmas with your family, don't do it. Sure, it'll bum them out, but like, if you do it in a polite way where you're like, hey, I think I'm going to do something different this year, like me and my boyfriend or girlfriend or family, or like, or just you on your own. Like, oh, I'm going to do, a Christmas alone this year, but I'll send you like a gift or something where it's not like, you guys are all fucking crazy, I hate you, like, I'm doing my own thing, you psycho, losers. I think there's a nice way where you can, obviously they're still going to be mad. Not obviously, maybe they won't be. Maybe they'll be like, finally, they're not going to freaking come to Christmas. They might be relieved that you're not going to be there.
So, the show has a non-active Twitter account at RestingBpod. That's all lowercase RESTING BPOD. And it has been inactive since at least January 12th, 2022, but is on Instagram with the same spelling. You can reach Ali Macofsky herself on Twitter at NotAliMac. That is all lowercase NOTALIMAC. And you can go to alimacofsky.com/shows to find information on her shows. Episodes are also on YouTube, and they're hosted by a live person that you can see moving around. There's got to be a better way to put that. Next up, Hollywood Handbook with Sean Clements and Hayes Davenport. Its description says, Hollywood Handbook is an insider's guide to achieving your showbiz dreams from two A-list it boys who are living theirs. Hayes and Sean provide an exclusive VIP backstage pass into Tinseltown politics, answer questions from unsuccessful listeners, and bring in famous guests to discuss their craft and how they became what they are. Famous. Famous is in parentheses. I would like to point out that the current logo, as of January 15, 2022, is styled as looking like a notebook, and on the cover of that notebook it says Hollywood Handbook at the top, and then below, in smaller letters, it says, An insider's guide to kicking butt and dropping names in the red carpet-lined back hallways of this industry we call showbiz. And just under that is a yellow post-it note with the message, Thanks, this helped, and it is signed by Ron Howard. Now, if you could see me, you would notice that I'm using finger quotes when I say signed, because the letters of this note look very much like a font, which is very funny to me. So I clipped the show back in 2018 for episode 180, which was called Trickin' and Clippin' and posted very close to Halloween. Longtime listeners might note that back then, the show tended to have at least 6 clips, and would post, I'm going to say, less frequently than it does now. But the clip I've selected is from an episode from January 4th, 2022, called Get Played, Our Video Game Friends. Now, Get Played is the soundcast formerly known as How Did This Get Played, rebranded for the foreseeable future. The episode description says, the boys welcome back Nick Wiger, Heather Anne Campbell, and Matt Apodaca from the podcast Get Played to make a new video game. This clip I've selected is from the beginning of the introduction of the 3 guests to set the mood for the episode.
Heather and Campbell are here.
Yep, that's me. We got Matt Apodaca. Do you guys want me to introduce the 3rd guest? Is that what you're queuing me up here for?
That would actually kick ass.
We've also got my friend and co-host, Nick Wiger. Hi, Nick.
Hi.
They, congrats, you were on Podmas recently. I was checking your feed, and you were celebrating yourselves over there, retweeting a Podmas mention. And then
What's
I was
Podmas?
like, Podmas is the list of all, like, the best, or not necessarily the best, but the most notable
Okay.
podcasts from that week. And I saw that, and I thought to myself, oh, Podmas is back. Holy shit. Because I just assumed it had gone on hiatus for
2.5 years, something like that.
Easily 2.5 years, which is the last time that we were mentioned in it. Because we used to get some burn on Podmas. Yeah. And then I go back, I scroll through. They've been diligently producing this column every single week.
Is this Vulture or what is this? AV Club?
What is it's
No,
AV
we were
Club.
mentioned there too, though. We got
okay.
Yeah. It's another
Hard
publication.
to tell
where there
because
was
you're
some-
on both.
Yeah, we got written up for being good there also.
I thought Podmas was an app. Am I thinking of something else?
I think, yeah, you're thinking
Yes.
of something else.
You are thinking of something.
No,
else.
I actually don't think
Swamp
you
ass?
are. I don't think you're thinking of anything.
Yeah, I think you're lying.
No, I just saw something that was Podcast Addict. That's what it was. That was the app.
I could see
It's a
how,
different thing.
you heard Podmas and
It's got
So what you're
pod
thinking of
going.
is the word podcast.
I guess so, yes.
I see
Do
how
you guys
you get
need
there.
help? Do you guys, like, what?
No.
Well, how can I facilitate this
No.
to make it run smooth for you guys?
This is going exactly. You all are just like slotting into your role so perfectly, marching to the beat of my little drum.
Okay.
I've got a front row seat for the puppet show, and all the marionettes came to dance. Hayes twists his little fingers up above the stage.
Last time Heather and was here, we did a video game adaptation of The Proposal starring Ryan Reynolds.
Wow.
Do you recall this, Heather and?
Yeah. It seemed like there was some miscommunication about the fundamentals of what a video game is or what it should accomplish.
I guess.
I left with a lot of concern for your, not just like your exposure to games, but your overall worldview. But I mean, if you guys want to take another swing at it, the whole crew is here.
Well, we're going to have to take another swing at it because, unfortunately, whatever the miscommunication was, it sounded pretty damn good to some of the high-ups over at Netflix, and they went ahead and made a goddamn fucking hit movie out of it. And
Wow.
Taika's riffing was sublime. So, if that isn't the mark of a successful video game development podcast episode of Hollywood Handbook, I don't know what is. They put Ryan Reynolds in the friggin' movie, and they made him be in the video game, and they made him be, I assume, doing all the things that we said he would be doing, including carrying a box, putting down a box, having trouble getting over the box.
yeah.
So we got to beat it. We got to come even harder, and this time We've got to get some kind of trademark or copyright on this thing so that we don't get scooped again. Because I want my points.
Okay.
Is that the plot of Red Notice? What were you describing?
So I
Free
understand, and this goes back to the Podmas podcast thing that Sean is disoriented. That was Free Guy was, of course, a 20th project.
Oh, Free Guy. Okay. Right.
Yes, that you could see in theaters. Second deadliest video game movie of all time, from the in-theater experience, nestled right in between.
Distant second.
Yes.
What was the first one?
Huh? Oh, Sonic the Hedgehog was a super spreader. It killed more people than any other movie released in history. It was packing theaters full of families immediately before the country was shut down for, the novel Corona.
Yeah.
It killed. Yeah. Sonic killed more people than hatred.
Wow.
So apparently you can also watch the video recording of this episode at patreon.com, The Flagrant Ones, that is capital T-H-E, capital F-L-A-G-R-A-N-T, capital O-N-E-S. You can find the show at Twitter at all lowercase Flagrant Ones Pod. So it's Flagrant Ones like I described, and then the word P-O-D. Hayes Davenport can be reached at all lowercase H-A-Y-E-S-D-A-V-E-N-P-O-R-T. Sean Clements can be reached at capital S-E-A-N, capital C-L-E-M-E-N-T-S. Nick Wiger, all lowercase, N-I-C-K-W-I-G-E-R. Heather Anne Campbell can be found at all lowercase, H-E-A-T-H-E-R-C-A-M-P-B-E-L-L. And Matt Apodaca can be found at all lowercase, M-A-T-T-A-P-O-D-A-C-A.
Oh, la 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 la. Another innocent pedestrian. Another inattentive driver. Another senseless death on another crowded city street. Looks like someone wasn't wearing his Henderson's pedestrian pants. The only pants that tell oncoming traffic, please don't hit me. Hello, friends. Bill Haywatt here, and if you're like me, you've probably realized that the simple act of trying to walk from point A to point B in downtown America has become a little like going 10 rounds with Mike Tyson. Chances are you're eventually going to get hit, and why wouldn't you, with so many drivers using their valuable time behind the wheel to shave, eat lunch, or check in with their good friends on social media? Who in the heck has time to watch where they're going anymore? Not me. And that's why Henderson's has come to the rescue. With pants so iridescently bright, they instantly turn a potentially deadly intersection into a cone zone crosswalk of a discriminating fashion runway. With Henderson's pedestrian pants, even folks who are asleep at the wheel or vying for their city's DUI record will see you coming from blocks away. With colors like radioactive isotope green, volcanic pumpkin vomit orange, and bladder infection yellow. But stylish color options are only part of the magic of Henderson's pedestrian pants. Built into the protective, heat-resistant lining of these beauties are over 10,000 watts of flexible Klieg light strips that will illuminate your legs like a Broadway marquee. Nothing says, "See me coming," like a pair of Henderson's pedestrian pants. Originally designed for the Rockettes of Radio City Music Hall, dirt track race car drivers, and power-walking narcissists with a taste for the bizarre, Henderson's pedestrian pants are available at your local all-occasion security barn and wherever used traffic flares are sold. That's Henderson's, makers of potentially life-saving outerwear since 1911. And now back to Succotash.
Thank you, Bill Haywatt. Finally, Dead Eyes from iTunes _sunset. I'm not sure what that means. It's all lowercase ITUNESU, so iTunes U, and then underscore sunset, which has many of the same letters as iTunes U. Feels like an inside joke. Anyway, its description says, actor, comedian Connor Ratliff from The Chris Gethard Show, UCB, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, embarks upon a quest to solve a very stupid mystery that has haunted him for 2 decades. Why Tom Hanks fired him from a small role in the 2001 HBO miniseries Band of Brothers. The clip is from a show that posted on January 6th of 2022 called Band of Others, in which Connor talks with Zach Braff from Scrubs and Garden State, Adam Scott from Parks and Recreation and Party Down, and David Krumholtz from Numbers and the Deuce about how they all auditioned for Band of Brothers and were not cast. The clip features part of the interview with Adam Scott. The Adam Scott section is quite late in the soundcast, but I've chosen to drop us right at the beginning of the segment because I felt like it.
If it would be better if I talked a different way or something for the purposes of your headphones.
No. It's fine. It's a little loud, but...
Is this any better? Does that sound any better?
Yeah.
All right, so that's better. I've done something
That's
helps.
great. Yeah.
He has a new series on Apple TV Plus called Severance, which co-stars my friend and past guest, Zach Cherry, who told me that Adam was a fan of this podcast and, more importantly, that he had a Band of Brothers audition experience.
It was either... the reason I think it was probably January 2000 is because I was working on this little indie called Seven and a Match right up until, like, Christmas break. One of the other actors in that indie, Ian Bailey, is the one who ended up getting the role that I was auditioning for.
By this point, Adam already had a really solid resume of 90s acting work. Shows like Boy Meets World, Party of Five, NYPD Blue. He's even in a Star Trek movie.
Sir, there's another starship coming in. It's the Enterprise.
And, like David Krumholtz, he had already been on an episode of ER. His Band of Brothers audition story, of course, begins in the same room in Los Angeles with a bearded, super skinny Tom Hanks.
He was kind of tucked into a corner with a chair and a coffee table sort of in front of him, so you could not get to him. I remember thinking, oh, that's really smart that they're doing this, because everyone is going to want to touch Tom Hanks. Everyone's going to want to shake his hand when they walk into the room and talk to him. But he wasn't standoffish. He was super friendly across that bridge of objects in the room.
How did you feel that first audition went with Tom Hanks? Like, what was your vibe on your own, how you had done?
I remember feeling like it went as well as I thought it could, considering how nervous I was. Really, really nervous. And early on, I tended to get lots of roles for nervous characters because those are the auditions that I could score on, because I have a hard time kind of masking anxiety or, nervousness or whatever. I probably overestimated how well I did just because I was so relieved that it was over. But then I remember running into Ian and just all of a sudden my bubble being popped, like, wait, I'm not the only one auditioning for this? Like, this isn't already my job? How can that be? You have to trick yourself into feeling all these things and thinking all these things in order to keep going. And running into Ian, I sort of knew I was doomed. And then that was confirmed for me a few weeks later.
And was there a callback, or was that it?
No, that was it. And I don't know if they had another round. I remember feeling like the vibe was, this is the audition. Like, you'll either get it or you won't. But maybe they did have more auditions after that. I have no idea.
I talked to David Krumholtz, and he said there was a point where they were doing mix and match auditions where they'd like bring in a group of people and see like, how does this group of actors look? I never know whether or not that's the next phase of the process or that's the way they're like rooting through a general crowd of people,
I would imagine that would be like the next step after what I did. So I didn't even make it that far, but I was treating it and the time afterwards as if I was waiting to hear if I got it or not if I was going to continue auditioning for it. So hearing that now even like makes me feel like shit. You know how that
sorry.
It just never stops.
Yeah.
No, not at all. But it just never stops. And it's like 22 years later, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't even make it past Tom Hanks. But it's not surprising to me, of course.
Eight years after failing to make it past the Tom Hanks round of Band of Brothers auditions, Adam did end up getting cast in a Playtone production, The Great Buck Howard, starring Colin Hanks, John Malkovich, and Emily Blunt. Tom Hanks also has a small role in the movie, but Adam didn't get a chance to reconnect with him until the movie premiered.
It was at Sundance, a year and a half later or something. He introduced everyone out onto the stage one by one. And that was a big deal to be, introduced by Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And I had a tiny role in the movie. Why I was even there is a mystery. And it was also cool to see him because he was like the producer of the movie and his son was the star and he was like the MC before the movie started. And backstage, he was, saying hello to everyone. I think he's very aware of who he is, the effect he has on, like great stars are. They can switch it on and be that person for everyone. And it's very Hanksy. It feels like you're in a Tom Hanks movie with him as he's like backstage, like holding court. It was really fun.
You can find the show on Twitter at Deadeyes Podcast. That is capital DEAD, capital EYESPODCAST. The host Connor Ratliff is at all lowercase CONNORRATLIFF. And the guest Adam Scott can be found at Mr. Adam Scott, all lowercase MRADAMSCOTT. But you can also find Zach Braff at all lowercase CACHBRAFF, and David Krumholtz is not currently on Twitter, but he is on Instagram at David Krumholtz, which is DAVID KRUMHOLTZ. And the show's website is at headgum.com/dead-eyes. And that's the first show of 2022. I should have another one for you in a couple of weeks. Next week, Mark Hershon will be your host for Epi289, and he might have clips for you. He might have a chat episode for you, or he might bring you something entirely new. I cannot predict beyond that. I do hope that you found something enjoyable amongst the audible offerings I included with this episode. Listening to as many soundcasts as I do and have throughout the years has led to having quite a few interesting aural experiences. Maybe you had one or two of those during this show. Perhaps you will find some in the archive. There's plenty to be had. I even already know one I am including in the future episode, and I know one that I will definitely be listening to in search of a second clip. It's still a fluid situation, though, so who knows what will happen the next time I bring you a show. Nobody. Not even me, really. So until then, be decent to each other. Go to www.tysonsaner.com to find additional content that I've created for theoretical public consumption. And if you'd like to share us with others, we'd really appreciate it. It's what we mean when we ask you to please pass the Succotash.
You've been listening to Succotash, the comedy soundcast, with your host, Tyson Saner. Brought to you by Henderson's Pants and...
Imagine your company's name right here.
Rate us and review us at Apple and Google Podcasts. Find us on the web at succotashshow.com, on Spotify, on Stitcher, on iHeartRadio, on YouTube,
on SoundCloud,
and wherever fine soundcasts are streamed and or downloaded. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Succotash Show. Like us on Facebook. Email us at tyson@succotashshow.com or call into the Succotash Skype line at our toll call number 818-921-7212.
That number again is 818-921-7212.
You can also upload clips from your favorite comedy soundcasts directly to us using our direct upload link at hightail.com/u/Succotash. Succotash is produced and engineered by Joe Paulino through the auspices of Studio P Sausalito, the home of the hit. Our hosts are Mark Hershon and Tyson Saner. Our musical director is
Scott Carvey.
Our booth assistant is
Kenny Durges.
Succotash is executive produced by Mark Hershon. Until next time, I'm your loyal booth announcer, Bill Haywatt, reminding you to please pass the Succotash. Goodbye. This has been a Succotash Patch production.